Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Alison and Kelly. We are two mental health therapists practicing out of Westwoods with Anchor and Bell Counseling, and are excited to talk with everyone today just about what we've been processing in the midst of so much happening in our world. And just want to take some time to kind of process and talk through some of what we're experiencing in the hopes that it's helpful.
Yes. So thank you for joining us today. Kelly and I are excited about this week's topic as it's something we are really getting a chance to work with our clients and personally in our own lives and the people around us.
Yeah.
So today's topic, we are pressing into and sharing a little bit and processing a little bit around being overwhelmed and when it's all just too much, which it is right now.
Yes. Alison, and I know I was sharing a little bit with you, but I found myself, a week or two ago, just feeling in my own body so overwhelmed by all the events, not only the pandemic now, but now, this new uprising of race conversation and the injustices that are occurring on top of managing, just the day to day. And I know for me, my body's cues involve just really high anxiety that can kind of take the form of some panic reactions. I know now, being in my own healing journey for over a decade, that's my body's signal that I'm not okay, that I have reached my max in terms of what I can take in. And so it was incredibly hard to admit, but needing to admit a week or two ago, okay, like my body is cueing that I'm overwhelmed. I can't continue in the way that I am. Because I'm only going to continue to break down further. I don't know, can you resonate with any of that, just when our bodies cue that it's all too much?
Yes, I can. And I resonate with the part where it's hard to know when it is. And all of a sudden I'm way in over my head, way in emotionally just way too triggered. And but it's hard to, sometimes for me, I know some people are super in tune, but similarly in my own healing journey, learning what are those signals and signs? And for you, that's panic. And I'm wondering, is that something that you are just able to recognize as you feel it in your body? Or do you have some questions you ask yourself? Or how can we help folks watching to recognize some of the signals that they might need to cue into if they're feeling overwhelmed?
I mean, that's a great question. Yeah, I think for me, it definitely is psychosomatic, we call it. So it shows up in the body. I don't know that I'm always as good, at seeing the preliminary. I'm definitely on the spectrum of I'll just keep pushing and grinding. That comes from a lot of childhood experience where it wasn't necessarily okay to listen to my body. Growing up in a family of 7, a pastor's family, we didn't necessarily learn those skills of it's okay to tune in, listen, and respond to what we're experiencing. I grew up in a push through, grind it out family. And so I think for me, what I find is that it comes up in my body. I start to feel the heart racing. I start to feel the chest tightness. I start to feel the muscle aches. And I find that even with clients, I think a lot of times it starts by showing up in our bodies. When we start to feel that overwhelmed, we can't keep pushing through.
I think that is so important. A lot of what you said, I think I can resonate with the grind it out, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There's really no good excuse it doesn't matter what you're feeling, there's still stuff to get done. And if you don't do it, you're making more work for everybody else. The problem with that is burnout, which I don't want to get us off track here. I almost did it. I love talking about the psychosomatic. And what we mean by that is you are experiencing real physical symptoms. I think before I went to graduate school, I thought psychosomatic meant you're making up what you feel in your body, like it's all in your head. Not so. We know, oh man, it ranges from headaches to insomnia to GI issues to lack of appetite, towards tightness in your chest, and this can even lead to cardiovascular issues. Oh man, like the psychosomatics, what toxic stress, what cortisol released in too many doses, too much doses does to our bodies is it wreaks havoc.
Yes. And Allison, I think, even normalizing for clients and validating, it's not even been 3 months since we've been in this pandemic, since
Right.
our worlds have been turned upside down with unpredictability. We don't know, there's no exit ramp for this. We don't know when it's going to end. There's a lot of feeling of out of control. And then you add on top of that the economic disruption, employment disruption, dysregulation with kids, grief and loss, and now this new instability of just this new conversation that's hitting really hard, and rightfully so, but just with race relations and what does this mean, systematic injustice. So the fact that our bodies are, a lot of us are experiencing chronic stress and it's starting to show up. Of course it is. Like it has been an intense, not even 3 months. So much has been happening. So much has been disrupted. And so if you're feeling it, you're very normal. Like, of course you are. This is not
Yeah.
normal life.
Yes. Yes. And my challenge to everybody watching, and what I want to say right now, is that self-care isn't going to cut it. Self-care is not enough.
It feels
Not
so
enough.
wrong, but you're right. No.
It's not enough to go get yourself a latte. It's not enough to paint your nails. It's not enough. I'm saying some of the things that I do when I'm like, oh, I'm going to treat myself and do something. Go for a walk. Those are good things. I'm not saying don't do them. I'm saying we need more. Your soul and your body and our humanity, we need to be doing more to care for ourselves. And if you are an adult watching, you get this incredible opportunity to learn what it means to self-soothe and to nurture yourself in ways maybe you never got as a kid or rarely did, or maybe you get to learn new ways of really meeting the emotional need.
Yes.
I think I froze.
I know, but you can. But I even think of what a colleague, has said, a phenomenal psychologist who works up north, Gina Hicks. But one of the things she talks about is just we cannot set our thermostat, at the same temperature consistently. Like as the environment around us changes, we change the thermostat. And the same is true in terms of our need to adapt to what's happening in our lives and what's happening in the environment around us. We need to have the ability to know when we have to shift our own temperature gauge, when we need to pull back on things, when we need to, shift and adapt how we're doing things, recognizing what worked for us 6 months ago maybe isn't going to work for us now. Our capacity is going to look different now than it did even 3 months ago. And the need to adapt and flex according to that, I just think is so critical for me, for clients, for people I'm coming in contact with.
I love that imagery, Kelly, and I love what Gina has said, Dr. Gina Hicks, about the thermostat. I'm getting this imagery of like 6 months ago, we had our heat on, and that is ridiculous. No one has their heat cranked up right now. Like we're all, either you're getting your swamp cooler in order, or you're turning on your AC or opening the windows and getting your fans going here in Colorado. And that is what we need to be thinking. Are you trying to treat yourself the same way you were 6 months ago before the pandemic? What do you need to adjust? How do we adjust? And a term that we kind of found ourselves saying when we were prepping for this is emotional detox. When you feel in your body, that's kind of a fad thing that goes on with dietary stuff. I'm going to detox. I'm only going to give myself the most nutritious of things. So what does emotional detox look like, Kelly? What are some things that you would suggest or recommend people try?
I know I've done and I've recommended for clients. We know, and science shows us, that when we undergo any sort of a big T or small t trauma, um, a shift in our sense of safety and predictability in the world or within ourselves, we also have vicarious trauma. So even people who have witnessed that video, um, the injustice there, I have found, like, and we know 3 days are needed, doctors will even tell you this, 3 days are needed to completely let down, do nothing, detox from the event. Your body needs that, your nervous system needs that after any sort of trauma. And so for me, I've really had to honor um, the fact that I cannot take in a steady diet of the news right now. It's too triggering, it's too overwhelming. And I know for clients too, it creates this nervous system overload. And I think within that, it's important to differentiate it. Not tuning in to all of the news and all of the stories does not equate to we don't care. In fact,
Mm.
it's the opposite. Like, I care so much, this will dysregulate me for the day. If I allow myself to be constantly exposed to all of the happenings, I just can't regulate off the news right now. I trust that what is needed to be sifted through to me will get sifted through. But I think that emotional detox for me and for clients, the most helpful thing is limiting information intake. We just can't take it all in all the time. What are your thoughts? What would you recommend?
Yes, I'm hearing that. We can't take it in, all of it, all the time,
Mhm.
whether that is social media or that is news. I'm trying to think what else detoxing emotionally can look like. For me, I'm thinking about, we had shared a few not podcasts, a few episodes ago about considering yourself posture. What is your posture towards yourself right now? And holding in one hand the activist side, using your voice side to advocate. That's still really important. We may get to that in the future in a different episode. But it's okay to say, I'm going to do something and I will be active. And what do I need to do right now to emotionally regulate myself so I can do that well? Because if we just go out, when we are emotionally dysregulated, when our brains are being overrun by cortisol and we are not doing well, man, I don't think the effect is always the best. So I'm thinking about self posture and thinking about how to self soothe, how to nurture, and this is taking self care to the next level. This is like, if self care is here, there's self soothing and nurturance and emotional detox, and really evaluating what needs to go in your life. What needs to go? Because for me, 6 months ago, I wasn't as pregnant. There wasn't a pandemic. There was a lot that was different back then. And I was working really hard and it was working for me. It was great. My whole family, I mean, I had no problem. And I've had to significantly adjust and think through what can I do that is healthy for me and the people around me right now and my family. And that's okay, you guys. You watching, like, give yourselves permission to take inventory. And this is just where Kelly and I are at, and maybe some of the themes we're noticing in our practice. And if that's resonating for you, I would just encourage you to consider what emotional detox might look like for yourself.
Oh, and I love that. Yes, and Alison, yeah, even I've been really reflecting too on this idea of Jesus. Like, he always went deep before he went wide, right? Like,
Oh,
he could have solved a lot more problems than he did while here on earth. But he essentially had, 12 followers. Like, his church was a steady group of 12. If we saw that now with the pastor, we'd be like, maybe a different profession, like, but Jesus, like, he was so focused on the things and the people around him. And so even as all these events swirl, I know for me there is such peace and comfort in looking at my two little hands and seeing how small they are up against the big wide world, and remembering, like do what's in front of me. Like, I think Jesus, like, he is really asking ourselves, what are you calling me to do? And for me right now, it's a 3 and a 1 year old and a husband, you know, and clients, like, and when I can pull in and really go deep with what's in front of me, I find a lot of peace and comfort, you know, in terms of doing my small role and doing it well, not missing in the bigness of what's being told in the world, not missing, you know, what's right in front of us.
Oh, I love that. What a gift to yourself. What a gift to your clients and your family to go deep instead of wide. And maybe that's where we just need to end. Consider how you can go deeper instead of wider this week.
Oh, love it.